Welcome back to the Puck Bunker. This is episode 39. I'm Rocco Zappia, joined as always by my co-host, the only man to have ever beaten Joey Chestnut in a hot dog eating contest, Darren Boyce. How are you doing this morning?
That rumor is not true. It was a chicken wing eating contest that I beat him at.
You still beat him, and that's what matters. But he choked on one of the bones, so it doesn't really count. But a victory is a victory.
Yeah,
we are. We're going to do another head-to-head episode here. I think that last discussion with Aitchison and Reed went pretty well. So this is helping us kind of sort our list and good debate at the same time. So we've got two more guys lined up who are ranked fairly close on most lists anyways, come from the same league. Bill Zonnon and Justin Carbonneau out of the underrated QMJHL. Boys had first choice last time.
definitely underrated.
Definitely underrated. The Q's back, baby. The Q's back.
Might be the best league in the CHL this upcoming year. Who knows?
It's my turn to go first. First choice, no surprise. I'm going to take Bill Zonnon, which means Darren will be making the case for the very talented Justin Carbonneau. Darren, would you like to go first or second here?
I'll go second here. I went first last time.
You'll go second here. Okay, fair enough. Bill Zonnon, what more can I say about this guy that hasn't already been said? I am very happy to see that he's finally getting his due in other public lists. I felt like forever we were the only ones who had this guy ranked as a first rounder, and we had him ranked as a first from the very first game of the year. But people are they've seen his games now. He's not a secret anymore, and he's flying up people's lists, and rightfully so. This guy he embodies what an NHL hockey player should look like. I think if you had to build a player from scratch, maybe you give him a little more natural skill, but in terms of the way he plays the game, there's really not much that you would want to change. And in fact, he's a prototype of, I think, what would fit into a winning lineup. We look at the Stanley Cup playoffs. Would Bill Zonnon not be a perfect fit on those Florida Panthers, or playing the big body role on one of those top lines for the Oilers, like Hyman and Evander Kane and Corey Perry are doing so successfully, right? These are the type of players that when the chips are down, this is who you want to put your money on. Talk about a guy that's going to go into battle for you. I mean, I don't think there's anything, like I said this about Aitchison, but I just don't think there's anything that he wouldn't do to help you win a game or a series. I don't think he gives a shit if he's scoring goals, or if he's killing penalties, or if he's blocking shots, or if he's playing the power play. I think he's got that kind of yes coach mentality, which I think is more and more rare amongst the newer generation of players. It's a little more all about me these days, and I don't think he's like that whatsoever. This guy's just a complete throwback to the 90s and early 2000s and late 80s, big bruising guys, but he's got the skill to go with it, and the skill has improved noticeably throughout the year. His playmaking, his scanning, his offensive vision and hockey sense it's been leaps and bounds since the start of the year, and I think most people thought that, he played on a line with Lars Steiner and Antonin Verreau, two of the most talented players in the Quebec League. And I heard this narrative that's like, he's kind of the big guy on this line with two skilled guys. But like, I'm telling you, this is the guy that's driving the play for that line and actually opening things up and actually starting the sequence of plays that leads to a goal, usually with a great turnover or a hard forecheck and winning a battle, right? I think this guy will be able to play legitimately, without exaggeration, legitimately play on any one of your four lines at 5-on-5 in the NHL once he's fully developed and in his prime. I think he'll be able to play on the power play for you. I think he'll be able to kill penalties. I think he'll be out there in a defensive zone situation with less than a minute left and you're defending a 1-goal lead. And I think he'll be out there on the ice when you're down 1 with a minute left, trying to get that next goal. He's a coach's dream. Fans are going to love him no matter where he goes. It's just a heart and soul player that you win with. And I think, despite my best efforts trying to hype him up all year, this is still the singular most underrated player in this entire draft class. And I think when it's all said and done, there's going to be a lot of people that are surprised to see how early he goes. And I'm not saying he's going to be a top 10 pick or anything like that, but I mean, you could probably get pretty good odds that he'll be in the top 20, and that might be a pretty nice cheeky little bet, sort of thing. I would not be surprised if a team looks at him in the teens, and once you get past the true, not guaranteed because nobody is, but the quote unquote more sure things in terms of offensive players in this draft, there's a very short list of guys who should have their name called before this guy. In terms of his projection as a pro, there's almost zero risk of this guy not having a successful career in the NHL. And I feel like the more that we watch, and now we're 3.5 weeks to the draft, we're getting to the end of it. We've done all our video for the year. We've done all our scouting. We've watched all the new games we're going to watch. We're now reviewing all our notes and all our video. And it's just like, you watch things over and over, and every time you watch a game, even if you've already watched it, you learn something a little bit new about a player, and you're seeing more and more little warts and things, and kind of not red flags, but things that just make you pause and say, okay, this might hold a kid back. And this guy has almost zero of those traits. I can't find one thing about him that says, oh, this is one particular area that might keep him out of the NHL. And as soon as you get past the guys who you're projecting to be first line players, which is usually around the 10th to 12th pick in most drafts, is where there's a little bit of a drop off in terms of like consensus top players available. He's as good a pick of any in my mind. So I love the way this guy plays a game. I love his heart and soul. I think the skill area of his game is underrated and overlooked because of how much he battles and how much of a physical presence he is and how much of a good two-way player he is. And his effort level and compete stand out immediately. They're the most noticeable thing about him. And I think because you're just watching how hard he goes all the time, sometimes you don't appreciate the skill that he does have. I think it's been a misspoken narrative that this is not a skilled player. I think this is a very skilled player. And I think that he's just scratching the surface of his potential. People talk about this guy as someone having limited upside, and I think he's one of the better upside players actually in the draft because of how well his game is going to translate to being a net front player on a really skilled line in the NHL. I think we're looking at when he's fully developed in his prime, a guy who's 25 goals, 50 points plus year in, year out, and plays the exact kind of way that's going to serve him well right around this time of year in the NHL playoffs. So there's my opening case for why I would have Bill Zonnon ranked ahead of Justin Carbonneau. There's nothing to dislike about this guy. What a player.
We'll discuss the differences between them, I guess, after I kind of give you the Carbonneau rundown.
Yeah, make us your case for why Carbonneau should be ahead.
Well, okay. So Justin Carbonneau, again, I think he's a 6'1", about 190 pound. I would call him a winger. He's a winger. They're both born the same year. So again, very similar that way. Had 46 goals this year, 89 points. I mean, again, this is a pretty high end Q point getter. In terms of the player, this is a very toolsy player. This is a guy where you see him and you're like, wow, like this guy's really fast. This guy's really strong. This guy can really shoot the puck. This guy can dangle the hell out of somebody at any given point on the ice. Now, is he in the phase where he's trying stuff out right now? Yes, I would say he is in that phase right now. However, I don't think there's many people in this draft or many guys in this draft that have that combination of skills that he has. And again, as we said, the speed is great. The shot is great. And the effort level is actually quite good too. I have no questions with his effort level really ever. My questions are actually sometimes he's trying way too hard. I've said this to Rocco before. He's the Jamie Vardy, I'm having 3 Red Bulls before the game type guy, which you have to harness him in. So this is a guy you have to develop, I think. You see the skills there where he could be a top line player. You just need to harness him in. Now, the defensive side is a little bit weaker than the rest of the game. And I think that's just because how Blainville plays. They really just asked him to push offense. That's really what their team did. I think that was more of a coaching decision. There is a rumor that he's going to go to college, and play at Boston College, maybe with James Hagens, which would be interesting because I feel both those guys play at a very high speed, but also play at kind of a reckless high speed. So sometimes, but the college experience will be good for him. Because if he's willing to go down there and learn the details of the game, which there are in college, that's a really good development process for him. So your projection with Carbonneau is more what you can develop him into, whereas I think with Zonnon, it's kind of what you see is what you get. Like that's I think the mindset there is like you're going to get the effort from Zonnon and probably I think there's more safety in the pick. I think there's higher upside in the Carbonneau pick, in terms of, just like Bill Zonnon can't match the actual physical tools really that Carbonneau has, in my mind. Now, the counter to that again is, Zonnon has, maybe a little bit more relentless on the forecheck that way than, Carbonneau is. But again, I think Zonnon at this point is just a little bit more developed of a player than Carbonneau is. So again, I think they're in similar areas in this draft. I don't think it's unreasonable that Zonnon or Carbonneau are ahead of each other here. It's just kind of it's kind of what your team values here. So if you're looking to kind of aim for a first line higher upside guy here, like there is a guy who can play make here too, if you harness him. I mean, I've seen him live where he completely dangles a guy and he has advantages and he doesn't take advantage of it. Like he wants to kind of do it himself. He wants to kind of do everything himself. And I don't think he's doing it in a selfish way. Like some other guys we've seen. Like I think it's just like, oh, like I got to score. So, I mean, the downside here, I think a lot of people think that maybe he couldn't play in the league. Like if that happens, I do see actually a guy who can play on a lower lineup here if you again develop him into it. Because the effort's there, and again, the body type's there. So even if you like, hey, if a coach gets him is like, hey, all I want you to do is play along the boards, chip it out, and like just cycle on the other end. And he would probably be quite effective at it. It's just he kind of needs to be coached on what you want him to do. That's kind of what that looks like to me. So, I mean, he's grown on me as the year's gone on because I was pretty hard on him early in the year. Like he does, again, he turns earlier in the year, he was turning the puck over a lot. I mean, there's still a lot issues there, but they did get better as the year goes on. And again, if he's rumored to go to college, that means that, he's aware of that development and wants to change that. So, I mean, again, this is a very solid prospect. It'll just kind of come down to kind of what the, choice and what teams kind of value, what teams value in that pick at that spot. I think he's probably teens or early 20s is probably where he's going.
Yeah. And that's fair. So to your point, like the individual skill and the offensive upside maybe is there with Carbonneau a little bit more. I'll give you that. He has one of the premier shots in the draft class. He has some of the best hands in the draft class. He's not an elite skater, but he's a top end skater.
It's the Hagens thing with the kind of the skill. He can play it like, again, maybe he's not the most elite skater in the draft, but at his high speed, he can do things at his high speed that other guys can't.
Yes, he plays with a lot of pace.
Yeah, and like that's the difference kind of between him and other guys.
So my thing with him, and this is one of the bigger reasons that I would have Zonnon ahead, is I do have a lot more questions with Carbonneau about I don't want to say hockey sense because he's a very smart player when he's on his game, but situational decision making I think could use some work. But I feel like he is a naturally intelligent player, so he could probably like learn this better. And I think a lot of his issues, if I talk about situational decision making, one of my things is when to shoot the puck. A lot of times it's one too many dekes before taking a shot, and a lot of times it's trying to get just a slightly more centered angle at the net, and at the same time taking away your own shooting lane, and then you fire it into a pair of shin pads, right? Now, I think these things are coachable with him, and I think the best thing for Justin Carbonneau's development is he needs to go somewhere where he's not the most talented player on the ice.
Yeah.
I think he is one of those kids. This guy's probably been the best player on every team he's ever played on, including the Armada this year. And he's probably always been relied upon to be the horse and to go do things. So you see him, I think he grips a stick and he forces things too much, trying to make something happen on his own because he has always been the most skilled guy. And I think that if he goes to a situation, you're talking maybe he goes to the NCAA, I think that'd be great for him because he's going to show up to the NCAA. He's going to get to his first practice and he's going to look around and says, fuck, everyone here is as good as I am. And maybe they're older, but they're going to be competition for him. It's going to be hard to play at that level. And I think that could bring out his best. When he learns to, like, when he realizes that, okay, hey, you know what? I can't just walk through these guys because they're all massive and can skate. I might need to make one move and move the puck. And if he becomes a one move and dish kind of player, he's going to be able to create so many odd man rushes for his team. And he has a shooting ability that he could be one hell of a finisher.
So
my biggest thing is he just does have to be willing to change his game a little bit, but I mean, it can be done.
So this is a guy who I think really benefits with this new rule, or could benefit from this new rule option
massively. He's too good for the Q.
Yeah, I don't think another year in the Q does him any benefit.
Oh, he's already one of the best players.
Yeah, he's already one of the best players, but like it's not forcing him to learn the habits that he needs to be a pro.
Yeah,
like just getting 110 points in the Q next year isn't really going to.
Not going to serve him. He can already score points.
Change anything for him. No. I think, I think it's very beneficial to him to find an NCAA because he's not good enough for pro either. So it's very beneficial for him to actually find an NCAA program that is well coached and actually teaches more details of the game. And he won't get away with, trying to dipsy doodle a guy at the blue line and turn it over. Like they're going to erase that out of his game.
So look at Cole Eiserman. Perfect example of a guy sorry to cut you off there, but perfect example of a guy who had all the skill in the world and really struggled with the details of his game last year and got drafted a lot lower than his talent level should have. What happened? Yeah. Went to college this year and made me and everyone else who criticized him look like a fucking tool because he has so much talent and he needed to go somewhere where they force him to play responsibly and force him into good habits. And look what he's done. Look how much progress that kid's made this year. And I very much could see a similar pattern for Carbonneau.
Well, I think there's more. The thing with Carbonneau, though, is like I do think there's actually more upside in the lower lineup part of him.
Sure,
because he is physical. That's another thing with him. Like he's not soft.
David Perron.
He's not soft. Like he hits guys.
He's not dirty like Perron, but he has that bulldog mentality.
Yeah, he'll hit guys. And again, as you said, he's very strong skating base. Like he's fast. And like just that right there, I think with him, it looks to me, it's just coaching and drilling stuff into him.
Yeah.
Like, we want you to do this. Can you do this for us? And like, I think if you give him an actual position in the lineup or like give him something that you want him to do, he'll do it.
Yeah.
Because it looked like this year. Yeah. Because it looked like this year, really with Blainville was all their players. They were just pinching for, like, they were cheating for offense. That's how the team played. So like, it wasn't just him. Like, I mean, like there's like that was just kind of the makeup of the roster. So I don't actually I think what's grown on me with him is the actual floor. Because I didn't have that high of a floor for him earlier in the year. Whereas now I think the floor actually does exist because you can get a third line guy could score 20 goals here.
Yeah.
Very easily.
And I think earlier in the year I may have mistook him for a lower effort player, and I don't think
Yeah.
he's a low effort
No,
player.
he's not a lower effort.
He's actually a high effort player.
Listen, there's some other low effort players in this
No,
draft.
he's a
We
high
can get
effort
to it
player,
another
but
time,
he could stand to be more efficient in how he uses his
I
effort
think that's
level.
the right answer there. It's not low effort, it's efficiency. He's inefficient right now. That tells me that he needs to be coached. Like he just needs to be coached up because you need someone to tell him, hey, you need to take this route to the puck. You need to be here when we're breaking it out. Like you need to be along here for like the board battle or in this certain position for your battle. Like it's just, I don't even think it's that difficult. I think it's a good coach, but I don't think it's like some elaborate change that really needs to happen in his game.
No, he just needs to get into a pro style system and not a run and gun pond hockey junior system, which is what they play.
So, and that's kind of, and to me, for him as a player, like the growth upside there is actually quite high because I don't think it's,
Well,
again, maybe,
your upside here is a 35 goal first line winger.
yes. Now I think he's going to be a shoot first winger. I don't think he's ever going to be maybe an elite playmaker.
It's fine. You need guys that can shoot. It's the
No,
hardest.
that's what it's fine.
The
Like
hardest thing to
that's
do.
the thing that in his game that probably isn't going to develop as much as his playmaking. Like I don't think he sees the ice great. I think he could see it enough. Like it's not.
It doesn't. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't. Look. He doesn't need to have Adam Oates' vision out there because he can shoot the puck so well. He just needs to be able to not turn pucks over and not kill plays with his playmaking and give it to a guy with the expectation that it's coming right back to him for a shot. And that's what he is. He's a shooter, and he's a damn good one too.
Yes. So that is the other thing. Like it wouldn't be the playmaking per se. It just would have to be kind of like the simple pro passing that he has to be learned. Because he doesn't have that like he has junior habits. Let's be frank here. There's a lot of junior habits here. Now, do I think they can be coached up? Yes, they can. So again, if he's coached up and we have like a 35 goal, 25 assist guy, like we have a 60-point player here.
Look, like guys can change their habits, and I think to this example, I will make sure I never forget this example. Connor Garland, okay? He was one of the most talented and electric and offensively skilled junior players I have ever watched in the years I've been scouting, and I could not stand him. I was like, I would not draft this kid, wouldn't want him on my team. Habits are terrible, attitude's terrible, and like had every junior habit and every possible flaw an offensively gifted junior player could have. And look what he's in the middle of what's going to be a 10+ year or 10-year NHL career. Why? Because he's like, I'm going to take all this skill that I have and I'm just going to buy into the way that you need to play to be an NHL player. And now he's one of the, I don't want to say most effective, but he's a very effective goal scoring pest out there. And he's found a role and he's bought in. And so that's why, like, I always remember that because the talent with him was always there. But I'm like, oh my God, this guy will never survive in the league playing like that. But I'm like, okay, well, now years later, I'm like, well, that was an 18-year-old kid who was still figuring himself out as a player and probably a person as well, right? So guys can grow, guys can change, and ultimately, if you see a set of tools that you think you can work with, you don't want to discount them out because of negatives that are very coachable.
If we can identify growth rate in these players, we're going to be very rich people. So, like, just to say, but like here, like I'm just reading my last scout of him, right? Like it's like skating's really good. Like I think it's like above average at worst. Like it's good. His shot is good. He just shoots from too many bad areas. You know, it's inefficiency in his playmaking. It's skates into traffic a lot. It's stuff like that. Like it's like filling lanes correctly on the rush. Like it's stuff like that. Like it's
coachable.
Like I feel like it is coachable. Some of the, like, again, not all of it, but some of this stuff is. And so if he becomes, like, say, a very competent board player on the cycle, which I think is quite realistic, like this is a really good player.
Yeah.
because, and if he's like even again, I don't want to like take away his skill set because obviously he has make miss ability. But I mean, if he's a dump and chase guy, the kind of the skating and kind of the work rate he can have in that end, like that's a good player.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a little more bullish on him than I was. I mean, there are flaws here, as there are with anyone basically after the second pick. So, yeah, I mean, it's a project. I think that's the answer here. Someone's gonna take him, and it's gonna be an upside play. Like we can coach him into being
but rather than a 1 or 2 year development curve till you make the league, it's probably 2 to 4.
Yeah, like we're gonna have to develop because the thing is with a lot of these, like I've seen this before. You've seen kind of these clips around, like there's like the best players have the mentality and the skills. Some guys have like the skill and not the mentality, and then like some guys have the mentality and not the skill, but like they end up kind of moving up because the mentality guys can will make themselves better. I think he has the mentality. Like I think there is mentality here. Like I don't think there's a lack of want or lack of like he wants to be good.
He almost wants to be good too much.
Yeah. So I it's not like, to me, like that's good. Like he's like, okay, let's harness that. Like you want to be this guy, like we'll make you this guy. So I think there is a 60-point upside guy here. Like I think I think there's a very high work rate kind of, like you can make him into, again, very high rate kind of forecheck type guy. You have a guy who kind of plays maybe on the flanks on your power play, maybe not your key decision maker, but he's kind of a guy you're looking to shoot. Like there's skills here. It's just the playmaking side of it's probably not what you're looking for out of him.
So
like
now
in terms of others, like the passing type of like that, like I don't think you're going to get like a high IQ type passer type, say like a Reshny or something. Like that's not what you're getting with him.
No, but he can shoot the puck with almost anyone. So
yeah.
Now let's come back to Bill, because we talked a lot about Carbonneau here. What are some things that maybe you might want to see improvement from Zonnon, or what might be some negatives about him that would keep him below Carbonneau in the draft?
Skating.
What about it though?
The perception is his skating stride is cool. Like it's awkward.
I think his skating's fine. He gets where he needs to be.
I think it's fine too, but the NHL is a step up.
It is.
And so it's more than one step up. It's a couple steps up. So yes, his skating would be the concern. I agree with a lot of people that it is an awkward skating stride. I don't think he's slow though.
He's not.
So
that's where he needs to be. And when he builds up ahead of the team, he's tough to stop.
And again, you can teach skating. Is it the easiest skill to teach? No, but I mean, this is also a player who's, by all things that I've heard, very intelligent and works as hard as anyone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, what if he gains a step? Like, very reasonable. He's 18 years old.
Right.
So what if he gains a step? Then what is he? Because
then he's a 30-30 guy.
Possibly, yeah. Actually. So yes. And again, he plays
or a 25-30 guy at least.
Yes. So he plays very physical. The downside you're going to have here is a lot of people, like, I think with him, the problem is more the perception than his actual play. Because if you watch him play, he is actually a good playmaker.
He's very
Whereas
good.
I think a lot of people have the perception that he's like the Carbonneau, where he doesn't have great playmaking ability.
No, he sees the ice very well. And anyone who, you've either not watched him or you just don't really know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's the skating stride. I think you're just kind of worried he's just put a pigeonhole, like he's just a third line guy. I think that's just what they think the upside is with him, as the other third liner. I think we've both seen that the upside's actually quite hot, like higher than that, because he seems to me like the prototype that can play with good players.
Like when he's going to be 24, 26, 28 years old, he's going to be really hard to contain.
So
Like, I feel like
again,
he's going to be excellent in his prime.
so I'm not comparing the career of the player here at all. I'm just where he is now in his career. I'm just going to compare them. Okay. So you have Corey Perry right now playing
knew
with
it.
Connor McDavid, but he's playing with Connor McDavid right now.
Yeah.
He's a complete greasy piece of shit. How many goals do you have in the playoffs right now? Like 8?
A lot. 10
Corey
maybe?
Perry can't skate anymore, and he never could skate before. He literally cannot. Like, he's 40.
Yeah. He's got a
And
Hart
look,
trophy.
and again, but look how productive this player can be. Look how, again, like, look at how positive, like, he's a positive player all the time. Now, I think the upside's obviously higher than a 40-year-old Corey Perry, but it's more that, like, look at the effectiveness of even just that type of guy.
Right. And they have it up and down. They have it up and down their lineup with Hyman, Perry, Evander Kane. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at a guy like Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett's put what is a career
You know
high.
what? You know what I just thought of? Can
Something
the Oilers trade in the first round and get this guy? Like, literally.
Yeah.
Get him.
He's going to be
The
gone.
Oilers should try and get in the first round and just get this guy in their team.
And give up what?
Another first next year. They gave a first and got O'Reilly last year. So,
yeah, I guess.
Like, the point is, like,
Bill Zonnon or Sam O'Reilly?
Sam O'Reilly, but
Come on, Darren.
Sam O'Reilly's really good, man.
You're a fucking homer. Anyways.
Only a homer. No one else thought he was good.
We thought he was good, and we said he'd be a first rounder, and he was.
I had to convince you of that one to start, but
not really.
Yeah. It was very early on last year where like, yeah, this guy's good.
Didn't have to convince me. I was on board.
Yeah. But I mean, again, so what are you projecting like with Zonnon? Like, again, you could be like a Zach Hyman type. Like, I
think he's going to be a top 6 winger.
He can be a top 6 winger. And he's going in a lot of mock drafts in like the late 20s. I think that's wrong. I think he should be going in the teens as well.
Well, at least he's in the late 20s now. He was in the 30s and 40s for most people all year.
I think he's a safer play than Carbonneau. I think there's some more translatable skills there. But I do think the upside with Carbonneau, if he actually does hit, like I think there is a little bit higher offensive upside there just because the skill set is higher. But again, it goes into the thing I was talking about, the mentality thing. Bill Zonnon's mentality is like 100%. Like there's no one with a better mentality than him in the draft.
Brady Martin's right there with him, but those are the guys.
But it'd be like that. So I have confidence in guys like that. And again, even with Carbonneau, like I like this mentality because they try hard. So I have confidence in those guys that they can actually identify flaws and improve them. So, I mean, I think he's been undervalued. I think Carbonneau has probably been properly valued, I think, in a lot of scouting service. I think he's been in the right area for most of the year. I think he could go as high as
11, 12.
Yeah, 11 could fall to like the 20s somewhere.
22.
Like it's really, like it's somewhere around there. Whereas like I don't think I would love if a team took Zonnon 11, but I don't think they will. I don't think they'll have the balls to do that.
No. He should go probably between 15 and 25 is realistically his range. But I mean, I would
even think of like all the
teams for me.
Think of all the mock drafts we've done, right? Like we're the guys continuously picking Zonnon.
Well, it's because we know what we're doing, Darren.
But anyway, I mean, these are two really good prospects. I have a lot of time for both of them. Just depends on kind of the situation you're in with the team. Especially with Carbonneau. Like, I mean, say you're Montreal, and again, I know a lot of people are mocking him to Montreal. But again, because he's got a little bit more development that he needs to have, a team with 2 picks, this makes sense because they can pick a safer guy with the first pick and then take more the development process guy with the second one.
I think Montreal would do real well for themselves to come out of that draft with Spence and Carbonneau.
What about Zonnon and Carbonneau?
No, I want him in Ottawa. Montreal can't have him.
Why doesn't Montreal just take the 2 French guys? I think that would actually be great for them. This is actually a time where it would make sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. There could be the 2 best guys But that's right. 16, 17, I think Montreal picks. That's right in the range where these guys like are in the conversation. Maybe someone had drops, like, I could see them picking both.
McQueen would be a guy there that like Montreal wouldn't.
So I mean, do they want to take two wingers, or do they want to draft a centerman with one of the picks, or a defenseman even?
The problem with Montreal would be if there's is Zonnon a center? That we'd even touch on that.
For me, I think he will be a guy. I think he'll be a draw-taking winger, or a guy that plays center. Like maybe you need him to play center in certain situations, or he comes back and he's the defensive. He's a center in the D zone, maybe, but he's a forechecking winger in the O zone, so we can get really deep in the play. I think like almost way different type of player, but almost like how Giroux did it, where he was a winger, but he played a lot of center ice assignments.
Yeah, like that's something I think a lot of people haven't taken into account either. Is he actually has been playing center,
and he's been good at it.
He's been actually quite good at it.
But I think his body type and the style of game he plays in the NHL level will translate more effectively on the wing.
Well, is there anything with Zonnon that you're worried about? Because I mean, the main flaw to me is his skating and like is there anything else that you're worried about?
That I'm worried about in terms of like him becoming an NHL player?
Just like something that could hold him back.
Absolutely fucking nothing other than freak injury. Honestly, I have no doubts that this guy is set up, if he can stay healthy, set up to play at least 500 games plus in the league minimum. I think we're looking at a guy who's going to have a 10+ year career in the NHL. There's not a singular thing that is a deal breaker for me, where all the prospects around him in the same range that we're going to have him ranked, I can find a fatal flaw that could keep them out of the league completely. And I do not see one with Bill Zonnon. Not one. Because the ones that he had, he's worked on them all year and he's fixed them. So
yeah, I mean, he's also like, that's the other thing. He's had a lot of improvement every time. Consistency and improvement. Yeah, he's been consistent every time out we've watched him, and
his bad nights are so good. His worst game, he's still affecting the play positively somehow, even if it's not offensively. He's doing something out there to help you.
So that's something that Carbonneau has to develop, because when he's on a poor night, like it's a bad night.
His bad games are bad.
Yeah.
His good games are incredible.
Yes. And Zonnon doesn't have that ability that he has, just that great.
Zonnon doesn't have the individual, but okay. I can't believe it took me till 40 minutes into the show or 35 minutes into the show to bring this up. I was chatting with, I won't say who, I was chatting with a defenseman in the QMJHL.
Yeah, okay.
That plays, not one from the Maritimes, Darren, one that plays in the division, okay? In the division with Carbonneau and Zonnon. And I was chatting with him and I said, let me ask you, I won't rat you out. I'm like, but who is harder to play against? And he kind of paused and he smiled. He said, well, they're just different. And I said, different how? He goes, well, Carbonneau's harder to play against in the sense that he can do a lot more by himself. He goes, but Zonnon is way harder to play against in terms of how he fits into his role on the team.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really, really great way to put it. Because he's like, Carbonneau might make me look foolish one-on-one. I mean, he didn't say this, but it's kind of what he's getting at. Carbonneau might make you look foolish one-on-one, but Zonnon just kind of does what he does to perfection, right? So the answer he kind of gave me is, well, they're both hard to play against, just in way different ways. And I thought that was a pretty interesting way to put it. So that's coming straight from a guy who played against them all season long. So
yeah, I think if you're drafting Zonnon and you're looking to, like, at least in my opinion, you're taking this guy. He's going to know what his role is. I don't think he's going to have any type of pressurized situation per se where he's drafted, where it's like, this guy needs to score a bunch.
Right.
He's just going to fit into a lineup probably pretty seamlessly in the low. He's going to start in the lower end of the lineup and probably work his way up the lineup is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas Carbonneau is going to take some development time. There might be some dips and valleys, but you're hoping, or hills and valleys. But as soon as you get to the developed player, you're hoping that it's at the high level, and that high level with you see those highs in the queue, but you hope they're more consistent. And those lower, like those games, those bad games are less. There's less of them, and he's more productive in them.
Yeah,
because, yeah, like again, they're both good prospects. It's just kind of a difference of what you feel like drafting, in my opinion, anyway.
Yep, I completely agree. Okay, last words here. I think we've covered everything about these prospects that we can. Final vote. I'm gonna end up having Bill Zonnon ranked ahead of Carbonneau when it's all said and done. Although I will say not by very many spots. They're right there next to each other.
I'll let the listeners know that I have Zonnon ahead of Carbonneau as well. But again, stating these players, it's a different development. I think it's a completely different development path for both of them. So if you're a team that's maybe looking at growth rate or trying to hit maybe more of a home run, I think they're going to pick Carbonneau instead of Zonnon, where I think he's like, you could make him, I think it's just a safer pick to take Zonnon than it is for Carbonneau. That's all.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well, this has been good. We'll probably keep these going a little bit as we try and sort out the rest of our list. So thanks for tuning in, Boycer. Thanks as always, and we'll see you soon.
See you later.